So this is a 2005 Yamaha V-Star 1100. Don't know if it's a custom or classic. Not sure what the differences is on those, but it's a big bike, heavy. It was actually completely together when I got it. It wasn't like this. I got parts kind of laying around, but it's clean. It's pretty clean. And I got it for pretty cheap. I got it for a steal. Running, driving, everything was fine. Soon after I bought it, it started sputtering, and I believe it's a fuel problem. And I had an oil leak at the same time, which is actually coming from the back of the head for the plate that covers the valve train. And it was just the O-ring was bad, and I had fixed that. The oil leak went away, and actually when I got it, there was a bit of a hot start issue. And so after I fixed the oil leak, it started leaking fuel. And I think that's why I was having the fuel problem. Be cruising on the freeway and it would just kind of sputter occasionally, and having the hot starts. So took it apart, and I did find that the fuel pump's leaking from the bottom. And the fuel filter here is actually pretty gummed up. It looks pretty nasty. I've also ran some fuel system cleaner in it. It's been sitting. But yeah, we're gonna try to see if we can get it running. I got pump, filter, throttle cables, and I just need a battery. I might try to charge the one I have, see if I can get it to juice up. But it's been sitting for about 1.5 years like this. And we'll put it back together and see if we can get it turned on.
That's dope.
Little Caesars.
Is it recording? Hi.
Wow, the quality. You can see my pimples from here. God damn. Those little microbiomes. Shit. So, what do you think?
I've never seen a strip like this.
I know.
What are we doing here?
I'm gonna try to get it running. I got fuel pump, filter, throttle cable. Just need a battery. Or we could try to charge the battery that I have. Got some jumper cables. And hook it up to one of these machines.
Oh, I have
These giant jump starters.
Yeah, these giant jump
Giant battery chargers over here.
Mm-hmm. You see, I parked it off to the side because it's unreliable. So just in case it doesn't start, it's not in the way of anything.
Yeah. It's downhill too, so we can push it.
Yeah.
Alright, so you guys seen the V-Star. We talked about that. And we got some other ones over here. Got a mower. Cutting the yard. This is a 1987 RX-7. It's a NA, it's a S4. Actually, I used to build these. Mostly street setups, nothing professional racing or anything like that. We've worked alongside some of the guys that do some professional drag racing before. This one was actually gifted to me by a good buddy of mine. His name's Marshall. You met him earlier. And this one I don't think has ran in probably 20 years. It's been sitting a long time. Surprisingly, still in really good condition. As you can tell from sitting, there's a lot of rot on some of the trim and stuff like that, but that's something that we'll get around to eventually. But more importantly, want to get it running, want to get it started, and test everything else out. Make sure the cooling system's great. Don't know if the transmission's good or not. It's currently stick shift's out of place and it's not in gear. So don't know if it works. I know these transmissions can be pretty weak. A lot of people think they could drive them like a muscle car or you know, like a Mustang or something where you can power shift, and you can't really do that with these. You know, they're not designed to take so much torque like that and abuse on the trans. It's a bit older technology too, so when you do power shift, you do have a tendency to you can just break gears, and I've seen that happen a lot. So this thing's relatively clean, considering how long it's been sitting and stuff. And I believe most of the parts are here, which is actually pretty cool. Still got these speaker covers back here. Missing a speaker here, but I got the cover there. We got all the paneling. We got a lot of nasty stuff down inside this fuel tank. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's pretty much rusted to shit. Spider webs. I mean, there's peaks and valleys of just rust and filth. I'm sure this thing's been open for 20 years. So I'm gonna need a tank. Tried cleaning out these tanks before. There's a lot of buildup that can happen on these. These tanks actually have a specific lining from the factory. When you do when you start doing mods of these things and deleting some things, you start to use premix in your fuel. So you mix a little bit of oil with a little bit of fuel, and when you go to fill up at the gas pump, you mix them both and put it in the tank. Well, when you buy, you know, aftermarket tanks, and you know, you get like eBay tanks and stuff like that, that premix has a tendency to deteriorate the inner lining on the tank, and that's going to start dissolving itself into the fuel, and you're going to clog filter after filter. It can get past the filter and clog up the pump, burn up the pump. You know, one tank I've seen it go through 3-4 pumps and multiple filters just because of that. So instead of replacing the tank with a similar OEM style one, I plan on doing a fuel cell instead, and replacing all the hoses, replacing the new filter, new pump, new lines. Not gonna do an in-tank filter. I'll be doing the external filters and pump. Should be able to come completely together and be a complete interior. That would be nice. On the inside, in the cab, not too bad. I hate the 80s red, but it is what it is. And it is a 5-speed. Got some kind of a cracked dash here. Gotta make some time to go through all this stuff, see what we got, see what we need, see what we don't got. Now let's go take a look at the engine. We got a fuel injected 13B to NA, non-turbo. Like I said, most of the parts are still there. However, I'm gonna be converting it to carbureted. Yeah, I think the engine will be alright. I'm not 100% positive on that, but we'll find out. And we might find out the hard way. But we'll get to that when we get to that. That's the RX-7. Meet the Tundra. This is my daily driver. It's beautiful. It's my favorite truck. Done a little bit to it since I got it. Got it on a good deal. It's tough, strong, it's fast, powerful. It locks itself, apparently. It's got a 2UZ for anybody that knows what that means. It's 2-wheel drive, not 4-wheel drive. And it's actually really clean. The paint is a little bit, you know, off, but who cares? And let's go through some of the stuff that I've done to it. So this is the 2UZ. That's the engine code. It's the engine name. It's a 4.7 liter. Most people know these as being the most dependable truck ever, and it is. And it's easy to work on. A little bit after I got it, I got home, and as soon as I got home, started overheating and shut the truck off and walked out to go pull the trash can in, and I heard a hissing in the front. It was the radiator. These plastic radiators right up in here, they have a tendency to leak. The plastic cap comes off of the aluminum, starts leaking, and you need a radiator. Now, I'd like to get an fully aluminum radiator, but they're expensive. So just did a quick replacement on it. Super easy job. 30 minutes, bled, filled up, and on. Very powerful, by the way. This thing is, for a truck, is pretty quick. Do have a faulty air pump on it. I'll be getting to that soon in a later video. And another thing I'll be doing is relocating the engine ground. It currently grounds to the firewall, and from what I've seen, that's not a great spot for it to ground, even though they put it there from the factory. And it causes injector noise. You can hear a lot of injector tick from it. So relocating that ground over here, from what I've seen, the best way and easiest way is to put it right here to this ABS module mount, and that'll give it a nice solid ground, and you'll get rid of that injector tick. So if any of you guys have injector tick on your Tundra, check that out. That might be worth doing, and you won't hear that obnoxious ticking all the time. Alright, when I first got it, this thing had stock Yankees on it, which are cool. You know, Yankee, that's a cool brand name. However, they're kind of fugly, and they don't really go with the look that I'd like to go for on this. You know, this is kind of this is my daily driver, kind of the, you know, the house truck, you know, haul stuff with, pick stuff up kind of truck. And we're out here in Texas. We've got a lot of back roads, a lot of mud, a lot of rain, a lot of humidity. It's a little humid today, and so I wanted to get something with a little bit more traction for some, you know, gravel roads, stuff like that. I didn't necessarily need it, but looks good anyways. So I actually picked up these wheels. These are Pro Comp wheels for pretty cheap. I got all four with tires. They're used tires for about $600, which is a pretty good price considering the price of brand new tires for these. And the guy actually threw in his brand new center caps. He had these wheels on his 4Runner, and he wanted to go with a bigger size, and I don't know, I guess he was just being a nice guy that day and gave me the center caps. So I got brand new center caps. Now these wheels are meant to be universal, so the lug bore on the wheel is actually a 14 mil, meant for a 14 mil stud. However, the Tundra is only a 12 millimeter stud, so I had to buy these ET lug nuts. It's extended thread. That's going to fill in the gap between the lug nut and the lug nut bore, and just take up the space so that, you know, it sits centered. And it's lug centric right now. Tundras are also known as one of the biggest hub centers to try to buy wheels for. When we're talking six bolts, and that makes it hard when you're choosing wheels. You can't put Chevy wheels on it, you can't put Dodge wheels on it, so it's kind of difficult, but I kind of lucked out on those. And so now we'll move over to the suspension. Inside here we got some rough country shocks and springs, and I also put the billet aluminum spacer to give it that 2-inch lift, just to have some wheel clearance. And actually it's a real nice, you know, just solid piece of metal. And then after I bought it and installed those, realized that lifting it up in the front threw the caster off. So I had been looking for a while at getting these control arms. These are JBA off-road control arms. These are meant to fix the geometry of the suspension, and they add, I think, about 2 to 3 degrees of caster, so that when you're driving down the freeway, driving down the highway, that you know, you're not going to have a loose steer. You know, the steering's not going to be wobbly and kind of just, you know, floating all over the place. You're going to have a nice planted front end, and that's what happens after you lift it. You know, that caster being off is going to make it feel real loose in the front, almost like you're not in control. So I ended up getting these control arms, and I was given another set of control arms before that, and went to install them, and on these control arm bushings here there was about 3/4 of an inch of play. I believe those control arms are supposed to be meant to be like universal, and you kind of got to do some custom stuff to get it to fit properly, but they were real cheap, you know, about 150 bucks for those, for the set. So I actually went and got the upgrade instead, and this comes with everything that you need. The control arm bushings are greasable, which is great. It's gonna last a long time. It reuses the factory bolt. The upper ball joint here is flipped, so it normally is pressed into the knuckle, the top of the knuckle, and the ball and thread goes into the control arm from the factory. That's the Oleum style. These make it a bolt-on, and it also relocates it, and it's mounted in the control arm and it's bolted to the knuckle, and it utilizes some spacers in there to fill up that gap from where the ball joint used to sit when it was pressed in. Cool thing about these, they're bolt-on, so easy to replace when they do wear out, and they're also greasable, so you keep up on the maintenance. These things are going to last you a while, and fixes the steering, so it's a great little set of control arms. I've also been known to cut mufflers off. Alright, now for the baby. This is my baby right here. I love these trucks. This is a 98 Toyota Tacoma. I've had a passion for these things for a long time. This is the second one that I've owned. Wasn't always this beat up, as you've seen. The damage to it. Got into an accident. It was a hit and run, and it's been beat up since. And I haven't had any time to get around to it. This is another project that's on the list. A lot of stuff is going to be done to this over time, and you're just going to have to watch to find out. We'll walk around, take a look at it, see some of the stuff that I've messed with, and go from there. Alright, here's the interior. Not bad, not bad. A little drab, if that's the right term. It's been sitting for a little bit. I turn it on every now and then. Got some spider webs hanging. I don't know if you can see that right there or not, but there it is. And steering wheel's starting to deteriorate. Put a racing stripe on it. Just kidding, it's a zip tie. Yeah, it's an interior. It's 5-speed. Yes, it's 5-speed. It's got the man pedal down here. Man pedal, but don't mind that. Don't mind the wires. Man pedal. Dirty. It's a great truck. Let's take a look at the engine. Here we go. Toyota 2RZ. 4-cylinder, 2.4 liter. Slow as fuck. Got some red shit all over. Actually just silicone hoses. The other ones were kind of dry rotted. And when I bought this one, the timing chain was loose. It was stretched out. At this point, it's been about 2.5 years and it's still scraping the front cover. Got some oil leaks down there. The oil pan's leaking. I think the rear main seal's leaking. And we're gonna be pulling the engine, pulling the trans, rebuilding the trans, rebuilding the engine, and prepping it for the turbo. Recently replaced the clutch master and clutch slave. We got a brand new one right here, brand new slave down there too. So pretty much all that's gonna entail doing metallic head gasket, some ARP studs. I'm gonna rebuild it, just new bearings, new seals, and then mocking up a turbo later on. Probably gonna run about 3 to 5 PSI to start with, since it's not a full turbo build. Still have the original cams and original valve train. Eventually I'll get around to doing some computer work, engine harness, and turbo stuff. Down here we got some Scion TC wheels, premium, top of the line Scion wheels. Now they're just regular Scion wheels. I have a 25 mil spacer, get it to fit better. They actually fit pretty well. They got a little bit of what I like to call bucktooth fitment. Pretty much fender kind of hangs over a little too far for what I'd like. Like it to be poking out a little more, like the wheels to poke a little more. But they were cheap, 200 bucks with tires used. And my old wheels wouldn't fit, so needed something, and these are actually pretty great. So my spacer is actually an adapter as well. This has what they refer to as a 3/4 drop, so it's 3 inches lowered in the front, 4 inches lowered in the back. Front is dropped by flipping the ball joint, and it's actually a very simple job to do. I have some O'Reilly's ball joints on it. When you do the flip with those, you actually have to shave off a little bit of the base of the ball joint to get it to fit. And these ball joints normally sit inside the control arm, and you have to put spacers inside the control arm so that the control arm doesn't collapse when you tighten down the bolts. So you need pretty much hardware, and you might as well get new ball joints when you do it. But fairly simple job actually, and it drops at about 3 inches just by flipping that ball joint around. And in the back we got some aluminum blocks, and they're tapered to match the pinion angle, so we don't have any binding on the drive shaft or the U-joints even. And they are aluminum, they're not steel, unfortunately, but that just means they're not gonna rust. And got new U-bolts on there. They're extra long, and you got to cut them down to length, and that gives you 4 inches. Yes, I do need tires. The exhaust, it's too low to see it, is originally I cut it off, but got it put back on with a cheap eBay muffler. just no brand name, nothing, just a muffler. And took it to my local muffler shop and got it welded up. And that weld ended up failing and went to another muffler shop, and that guy does much better welding than the other guy did. And yeah, it's doesn't sound much different than stock. It's just a little bit louder, but it sounds good. Just sitting here inhaling exhaust fumes, losing brain cells. It smells good. This thing's actually been sitting for well over a month and cranks right up. It's pretty good. Timing chain, like I said, scrapes the front cover. More so on D-cell. And that's why I love these things. They just start right up, no problem. It's got a nice sound to it. So here's our culprit. This is the fuel pump. It's got a little leak somewhere in the casing back here. We'll be replacing that. Simple plug, unplug it, take the lines off, swap it out. We got the filter here, and you see that color. It's kind of gummy in there. So we're gonna replace that too. Throttle cable up here gets stuck. You see it. I let go. Doesn't go back to where it should. Turn it back. Stuck. I think it's the cable. Inside the cable, probably rusted, have grime in it. They're real cheap to get replacements. I could probably take it off and try to clean it out. I was looking over here at the throttle, and this seems to be turning pretty freely, so I don't think it's the carbs being gummed up. I think it's just the cables that are tight. So we'll replace those and then get a fully charged battery, put that on, and see if it'll turn on.
What is it you want from me? Do you even know? Do you love me actually, or fear being alone? Do you even know? Do you love me actually?
Alright, so battery was dead, didn't get a new one. I hooked up some jumper cables to the truck, let it charge while we were putting it together. Sorry for the abrupt cut. Phone died, so here we are. We're about to do the first start, just letting that battery charge some more. We got it in the bike, so pretty much the first start.